Last time we caught up, it was after the Billy Joe Saunders versus Canelo fight. Since then, we've had no official word from Billy Joe. Oh, wow, okay. All right, okay. We've had no official word whether Billy Joe Saunders will continue. What is your thoughts? And I know at the time you said he should call it a day, but there's been no official word.
Well, I said he could call it a day, not because he's not good, that he can win another world title or be competitive. Of course he can. But I just thought that he had damage. He had damage where you don't know how that's going to affect his career. He's had a great career. He's in lots of money. If there's a time to go out, it was that time, because you didn't lose to an average fighter or even an average world champion. You lost to a Hall of Famer, the guaranteed one of the pound for pound #1 on the planet. That's the truth. So, except for going out for a win, going out with a loss and earning lots of money, it's pretty good. Like, he won't see it that way, of course, because he is who he is. But yeah, but if he continues, he'll still be successful. But what's your motives now? I think that's the worry. He's earning a lot of money, but is a lot ever enough? You know, that's the worry for me. So I don't, and how his injury, you know, how it's progressed, and is it healed fully, and does he have confidence in it? There's all those questions that will need to be asked in the training camp before if he does have another fight. But only he can decide. Only he can answer that question. And the fact that he's been so quiet tends to make me think that he will come back, to be honest. But I think Billy would just make a big, I'm not fighting again, you know, and I've had a great career, and I think he'd be a big statement about it. But I got a feeling he's going to do some hard work and then just come back with a bang and offer every fighter out. I think he's one of those. He might just be waiting to see what happens with Canelo and how he cleans into the division. But if he does, he obviously got Caleb Plant coming up now, Caleb Plant, which is November the 6th, I think they've said.
November the 6th, that's right.
Hence my T-shirt. And yeah, so, you know, maybe he'll want to get back and fight the winner of that. But listen, Billy's had a great career. Whatever he does, you know, he can be proud of himself. That's the truth. And he can be proud of himself on that night. He had a good go. Wasn't good enough, but you know, you're up against the best on the planet, so you know, there's no shame in that.
All right, a couple of points with the BJS scenario. Okay, first one. Officially, Mark Tibbs told us that he's no longer training Billy Joe Saunders. Any surprise from you on that?
No, because they've split up before. I think that's just the way it is. You know, I don't know. And again, it's all going to be, you know, me surmising and guessing what was going on. But after the fight, you know, it seemed a bit weird situation with, you know, with Ben Davison involved and you know, Mark Tibbs and who said what and who was in charge, and you know, Billy, you know, seemed to side well with Ben Davison, so maybe he goes back to Ben. You know, they've worked together before, so they won their fights when they were in the corner. It was probably Billy's worst performance, ironically. But Ben's come on to, you know, and learned the trade tremendously well since then, so maybe they'd be successful. And Mark Tibbs, you know, he's a good trainer wherever he goes. It doesn't matter. I think it doesn't matter. I mean, it matters for you guys because you want, you know, the more drama and things to talk about. Sorry, I'm the worst one for that, sorry, but it doesn't matter because they're good trainers in their own right, and the boxer's a good boxer, whoever he's trained by. That's the truth of it all. You know, that's the truth. And I'm one of those guys who trainers don't love, because I always say, you know, the boxer makes the trainer. A good trainer is worth his weight in gold and is massively important and can be the difference between winning and losing a small fight or a huge fight. But still, ultimately, if the fighter can't fight, he can't fight. So you know, the whole saying, you can't polish a turd, and that I think that's true. You know, if the fighter's good, he's good. So whoever Billy goes with, all they can do is make him work. They can't make him any. I don't think anyone can make Billy better. He is what he is now. So you can only ruin him. That would be the only potential, and I don't see that happening. So whoever he's with, Billy's Billy, and Billy will be box the way he boxes. So he'll either look phenomenally good, or he'll be lazy and just get over the line, because that's how he is sometimes. And you get that a lot with with precocious talents, they're either wow or why did he just do enough? Because that's what they're like. So yeah, I didn't answer your question really, and I'm not going to. But it does. Who cares? Who cares if he's trained by? I don't care. As long as everyone's happy, who cares? But I don't think if Billy doesn't fight again, then I think that's a good end to his career. He's a rich man. He's a rich young man with his health intact. He's had a great career, 2-weight world champion. He went over to Canada and had a standout performance. He's boxed in a football stadium, be it Steven Inch, but still a football stadium of sorts. And he's boxed the biggest fighter on the planet in a packed out stadium in the middle of a pandemic. And got beat, but made a good account of himself, even though he lost.
You think too many people make a bit too much of fighters changing trainers? Because we see Callum Smith change trainers, Beefy Smith change trainers. It's a regular thing at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's I think one problem, and I'm not saying that's like directly to involving the Smiths, but a lot of trainers are managers, and that makes it quite difficult because then, and I don't always agree with that because unless they're taking less money for this, of course, but it's that means you can change your trainer or your manager, or if you want to change your manager, you have to change your trainer. That's the truth, because not many trainers who manage you. If you decide after your management contract, I'd say, listen, I don't need to manage me anymore, but still train me. They might say that's not part of my deal. So I think it means you can't switch trainers if they manage you. That's pretty much what it means. Or you can't change managers if they train you. That's a weird thing. So I think keeping that separate is not a bad idea. I think you have to get a rapport with your coach or your fighter from the coach's perspective. So the longer you're with that guy, the better it is. And sometimes you change trainer, and it's not that they know any more than the other guy you've been with. It's sometimes a different voice telling you exactly the same thing. It really is just a different voice telling you exactly the same thing, come from different lips, and you seem to listen sometimes, and that's sometimes the case. So you get a bit stale and you need to freshen up. My worry is that trainers over here become like trainers in other parts of the world where they're guns for hire, and they have no empathy for the fighter they're training because they're being discarded constantly by fighters and because they move on to another trainer. Might sort of blacken your heart a little bit. You might think you get a little bit tougher skin and think I can't get emotionally attached to my fighter now because the chances are he's going to leave me when a flashier, sexier, newer trainer comes along who can spin it, who can sell himself better than I can, or knows more than me, whatever. I think that's the worry. So yeah, so moving trainer hopping like that is usually a problem with the fighter more than the trainer. I think that's the thing. But it's a short career. You do what you do. You do have to do what you think's best for your career. And then when you look back on it, you might regret some of the choices you made, or you might be thankful that you did that. Either way, it's your career, and you have to look after yourself solely. I think that's the important part.
Right. How do we
how long was that answer?
It's all right. It's all right. We like it in depth. Okay. How do we kind of like summarize? Okay. So we had Callum Smith in there with Canelo, and we had Billy Joe in there with Canelo. Callum Smith went the full top, just the full distance. Billy Joe had that injury. We never summarized that. How would you summarize that?
Well, who did the better, you mean?
Well, yeah, on paper, some might say, yeah.
Well, I think Billy was more competitive, I felt, to be honest. Though I don't think either one of them looked like they were, even when they were having good periods, especially when Billy was having good periods in the fight, it never felt like he was going to win. It always felt like Canelo was not letting him, but was comfortable when Billy was having success. There was no panic in Canelo's work. Like he knew, I'm going to get you somehow. And the same with when he boxed Callum Smith. So I think Billy probably did quite better. But that doesn't mean that Billy beats Callum Smith. I think Callum Smith's going to be a light heavyweight anyway now, so that doesn't matter. who knows? Maybe Billy Joe comes back at light heavyweights. Stranger things have happened. But yeah, I'd probably say that. I would think Billy probably had a better performance against Canelo than Callum did. I would say. But that's just that's how I saw it. So, but just going the distance with the guy doesn't always mean you did better than the guy who got knocked out. This is not the case in point, but some people might fully commit to the fight and get knocked out, but they went for it. And other fighters, say like myself, would be safe first and try and just survive and try and nick rounds, and then hopefully win that fight that way, which means you've gone the distance, but you've been far less effective while you've been in there.
Listen, sorry, Barry Jones is facing in the dictionary. Ring generalship.
No, listen. Talk about ring generalship. Canelo has it down to a T. Wherever he is, he knows where he is all the time, and he knows where you are. And some things can't be taught. I think you have to have a natural feel for something, and he has that because he's done it against fighters who do it against others. That's the thing. Like Callum Smith always, his ring generalship in most of his fights have always been pretty good. And same with Billy, when Billy's dancing on the ring, he's still sort of dictating the pace. He knows he's engaging when he wants to. So, Canelo did against Golovkin. Golovkin dictates the pace better than any fighter at that particular period because he would always bully you. And even when he was coming forward, Canelo was never out of sorts, always looked comfortable. So, always knew where he was, always knew how to get back to the centre of the ring. So, for ring generalship, he's one of the best by far for that. It's a very important weapon. It's a very important tactic of the fight. But you can't always do it. So that's the thing. You can't always. Sometimes you have to just react. But other fighters like Canelo can, have that ring generalship to take the pace, hit the centre of the ring, and just do everything they want to do. They orchestrate the whole fight around the end game, which is for him usually trying to knock you out.
All right. Look, we touched on November the 6th earlier in the conversation. Caleb Plant. I like Caleb Plant. Hell of a mover.
Yeah.
Skills to pay the bills. Canelo, it's different. How would you rate Caleb Plant's chances against Canelo Alvarez?
No better than Billy Joe's. That's the way I feel, to be honest. And they're not just because they're movers. They're not the same fighter. And Plant will come in from weird angles, and I think, and he's massively underrated because he's not that sexy to watch. But he's effective and he's a good mover and he's getting his balance is pretty good. But when you got a guy who's every punch he throws, you feel, so you can't make a mistake, who can close the gap quick, can cut the ring off, and also you can't hurt. That's the worst thing. And not even with Canelo, you can't hurt. You can't push him back. So you can't hurt. If you can push him back with a shot, then he has to re-engage. You can hit him off balance, and he can't always attack or counter attack off your moves. But when you can't move him, how do you orchestrate a counter attack? If you can't deter him from walking forward, if you can't take him off his plan by hurting him or flustering him with combinations or using your footwork to spin around the target, things like that. You can't do that with Canelo. His footwork is really, for a guy who looks flat-footed, Canelo, his footwork is sublime. It's brilliant. The way he slides on in and out of target, the way he can turn when you turn him, he shifts with you. So you're always in front of him. You can never get to the side of him. Like Billy Joe Saunders is brilliant at doing that. Throws his punches, dips the shoulder, rolls under the shot at times and gets to the side of you. And then whether he attacks or doesn't, and Plant can do a similar sort of thing. Whether he attacks or doesn't, then he has the option to do what he has options to. The next move is his. He's a step ahead. With Canelo, you do that, and he shifts his body with you. He takes a step with you. He pivots with you, and so you're always in front of him. He always knows where you are, and that's not just physically hard; it's mentally draining. Which, as you know, fighters will tell you, when you're mentally drained, it manifests itself physically, and you get physically tired, and you give up in your brain before your body gives up. That's the truth. You get frustrated, you get tense. When you get tense, you get tired. You pull your punches. All these things just take away what you're naturally good at. So I don't give him a chance. I mean, he can be competitive to a point until because Canelo likes to warm into a fight, so it gives the impression that you're being competitive, and maybe you feel like you're being competitive, and then he he puts his foot on the gas and he rips the soul right out of you. He's brilliant. He's brilliant. He really is.
I like how you put that. When you become mentally tired, you become physically tired. After a weekend with the kids, that's what happens to me.
Well, of course, it's another thing. You know when you sit down all day and do nothing, and you're knackered. That's a mental thing more than physical. If you physically haven't done anything, you shouldn't be tired. You're mentally like bored and stuff. But in a fight, when you're constantly having to think, or when you're constantly worried about, like Nazim used to do it, because Nazim, you had such tremendous power, he made you miss, and when you threw a shot, he did you so hard that you put your pants. So like literally, sometimes some of them. And so what would happen then is you're afraid to throw. So you're mentally, you're so wet up, and then because you're worried mentally, then you pull at your punches. You get all tense and panic, and he slows you down, makes himself look faster than he actually is. Harold Graham did it. It's a trick of the Ingle gym. They make you tense. They make you panic. They make you make mistakes. They take away your good assets. That's what they actually do, to be honest. So they are good at what they do, but it's a bit of a mirage. They're not as fast and as fluent as they may seem. But they take away your fluency and make you tense, and then they look even faster and more. That's the thing. And when someone has power like Canelo, it's worse because they don't just make you pay for your mistake. They really make you pay. You feel it and it hurts. And I've been in a similar situation in a fight where fear to throw a punch because the punch, if you miss and he hits you, it hurts. You're not scared, but there's a trepidation about you that you're thinking, I know if I might get knocked out if I make a mistake here. And and when you're in a ring, it's a horrible thing to think, because all you should be thinking about is, how do I win this round? How do I land the shot? Stick to the plan, stick to your tactics. And if you haven't to worry about other stuff, it's boxing. We overcomplicate the sport now. Everyone does it. Trainers do it more than ever now. It's ridiculous. Boxing is quite a simple sport in many aspects. And pundits like myself, we do it to make ourselves sound clever. Of course, we all do it. But it is actually mentally quite a taxing sport to do, more than what people think. It takes more brain power than you would feel, or you would think it has to. Even fighters who just charge forward and look like a Mike Tyson, who you just thought was a bully. There's a lot of thought to what he did. And other fighters like that, there's a lot of thought. You just think, even fighters like James Toney, I know he was a genius, but you would just think, he just slips punches and comes back with his own. But there's so much thought behind that. He's still, and no one thinks if anyone tells you he thinks 5 moves ahead, that's bullshit. No one can do that. It's just impossible. It's ridiculous. But you do set up an attack to do something. That can happen. And I think again we all try and make ourselves sound too clever by saying things like that. He's 5 moves ahead, but you can be a move ahead, and you do sometimes do something so he could do that, so you can do this, which is far more effective. And when you're in a combat sport, when you're in a line of fire, having to think like that, keeping that calmness to do that, when someone else is trying to think about doing about tactically, and also more than anything, trying to hurt you, that's not an easy thing to do. And fighters who do it at the highest level, that's a bit of greatness, to be honest. It is. I couldn't do it. I know I won a world title and stuff, and I'm proud of what I did. But I could do it at the lower level quite efficiently and effectively. But the highest level, to try and have all that in play whilst just trying to win the fight was something that was beyond my reach, to be honest. And only a few can do it. That's the truth.
You could say Canelo downloads information in 5G in a heat reaction.
I could have just said that and saved yourself 10 minutes, couldn't I, really? Yeah, thanks. Don't say something in 2 words when you can say it in 55 words. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're right. He does. But again, that sounds better. Download the information. But I'm not a tech guy, so I wouldn't even have thought of that. But yeah, he did. Yeah, to absorb the information and to use it, that quickly, whilst being under pressure. By the way, you're not doing it sort of sat at home, like breaking down a fight like people do. You should do this. You should do that. You have to do it while people are trying to punch you in the face. So it's a difficult thing to do, and only great fighters can do it effectively and continuously throughout their career. And Canelo's one of them.
All right.
And that's why I think he beats Plant. That's why I think he beats Plant.
September the 25th. Difficult fight for Joshua, or for you, will he just show that he's a well-fledged heavyweight and just dispose of Usyk?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult fight. I picked Joshua, and I think it is a difficult fight. I think people are going back to Usyk being too small, and that might be the factor of the whole thing. But and people going back to how he had trouble with Chisora, but I never saw it that way. I didn't think he had trouble with Chisora. I mean, he couldn't put a dent in Chisora, but then that wasn't the tactics to put a dent in Chisora. I think it was tactics to box him. I think he did that quite effectively. I didn't see it as remotely close. I didn't honestly. I really didn't. Maybe I think I'm in the majority there actually, but who knows? But my only worry about for Usyk is that his style. He's brilliant, by the way, but his style is to block and counter. So his style is to make you work hard and tire you out, like he did with Tony Bellew, when Tony Bellew looked really competitive in the early stages. Usyk wasn't doing much, but doing enough to win or make the rounds close. But he makes you work hard, and then as soon as you run out of steam, he maintains that pace or ups the pace, and you can't live with him. Now the blocking and countering stuff is brilliant, but can he do that against a Joshua, who's a massive guy who punches hard with every shot? That's my worry. If he can take the shots on the gloves or on the arms of Joshua and move around the target, if he can take the gloves, if he can take the shots on the arms and the gloves are being pushed back, then he's got a really good chance of outboxing Joshua, and Joshua run out of steam, all that muscle mass, trying to knock him out, trying to hit him hard, missing or having no effect, and then after 6-7 rounds, Joshua's going to be flat, and then Usyk goes to work. So I can see Usyk stopping Joshua, but I tend to feel that who's a better boxer than what people give him credit for, to be fair, and he is, will be on his balls of his feet a little bit, just enough to get in and out of distance. Not to make Usyk miss, just to not feel the pressure of Usyk's front foot in the middle of the stance. And then when he hits Usyk, enough to knock him back. Even if Usyk blocks the shot, enough to knock Usyk back so he doesn't dictate the pace. I think if Joshua can dictate the pace, then Usyk's going to struggle. And even if he can stop Usyk, which I think that might be the case, Usyk might not be able to be effective enough for the way he fights to pick up enough points to win. That's the way I feel. So I will go with the bigger guy on this one, to be fair. But it's a good fight, and it's a proper fight. You know, it's like well, we all want to see. You know, the guy from cruiserweight coming up who was massively dominant, one of the best cruiserweights to ever live, and he has to be that. Not the best, of course, because Evander Holyfield stands on a plateau where no one can ever reach. But he's one of the best, maybe the second best, and he fights the heavyweight with the best resume in the world right now. Not to be the best heavyweight in the world right now, but he has the best. He has the best names on his record, and that's what we want to see. So it's a great fight. Again, can't moan about that fight, we just can't moan about it.
Good fight.
And
yeah.
he has his own, and he has his own little intrigue, because you can't just automatically go for the bigger guy, and you can't automatically go for the guy with the more skills. You just can't automatically go for either one. You have your favourites and who you think is going to do the best, but I think ultimately then Joshua will be a little bit smarter, but he has to be direct as well. Joshua, I don't think he can try and dance and box like he did in the Ruiz second fight. He tried a little bit in the Pulev fight, which was, he boxed really well, but I don't think he needs to give up ground that way. I think he needs to be the aggressor all the time, take the centre of that ring, but be smart, and the jab and the right hand will be his greatest friend. If he can get any sort of joy with those shots, Usyk's going to have a hard night. So I go with Joshua. But if Usyk can block the shots and not get knocked back, then he'll do what he does best, and he'll make you empty your tank early, and then Usyk will stop Joshua if he can do that. But I go with Joshua. Am I swinging back and forth here? I'm trying to cover all bases, so I don't get it wrong.
Yeah.
But ultimately, listen, if I got to make a prediction, I think Joshua. I go for Joshua.
Do you think Usyk should have had more experience, you know, at the heavyweight top level before stepping in with?
Well, I think so. Ideally,
yeah.
Sorry, mate. Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. Yeah, I think so, and I think ideally he would have, but with the pandemic and stuff, no. What can you do? I think it's important that he puts on weight. It's also important he doesn't put on too much weight, because he doesn't want to lose that fluency of movement. Like, he's not a dancer. People think he's a dancer. He's not really a dancer. Though he can move. He's not the same fighter who boxed the WSB. Well, when he boxed 5 rounds against Joe Joyce and stuff like that, he's not going to box like that either. But he needs a bit more strength just to absorb the shots. That's what I feel, but not enough bulk to make him too flat-footed. That he can use his quick react. He needs to have quick reaction, especially with the feet, to react to everything Joshua does. So yeah, but yeah, ideally more fights that way would have been the better. But he hasn't been able to do that. But I think that the Chisora fight was a nice little test of him for strength. You know what I mean? To know what it's like being with a real strong guy who's, to be fair to Chisora, he's many things, but he's committed. That's what, when he mounts an attack Chisora, he's all in, isn't he? And that's his strength and his weakness, actually. So I think that was a good little gauge for him. But he definitely goes in the underdog there, Usyk, and so we want Joshua to win. Why would you? Unless Usyk's your favourite fighter, because you shouldn't always have to favour a guy because he's from the same country as you or whatever he is. But as a British boxing fan, or as a boxing fan, we want to see Fury or Wilder versus Joshua, or Usyk in that case. But I think we want to see Fury versus, as British fans, we want to see Fury versus Joshua. That's what we want to see. So both of those guys winning their respective fights is what we want.
All right. We'd like to thank the man himself. It's been a pleasure once more, and hopefully we'll do it again real soon. Maybe after the AJ fight.
Yeah, man, definitely.
Yeah. All right. I'd like to thank the man himself, Boxing Supremo / boxing expert, Mr. Barry Jones. Thank you very much. Pep Talk UK. Thank you. Subscribe. Thank you.